Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello all, and welcome back to All for United. Reds Weekly is back this time of the week again, and I'm joined, thankfully, by my you're that side, by my
side, mate. Yeah.
Benny. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a stressful old week, but I'm glad that you're back on these shows. You have been missed the last few weeks on here. Stu, welcome back. How you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thank you very much. Had a quietish but good weekend. So watching me live play footy, so it's always good. So yeah, always a winner.
I'm glad to hear it. And John, your first time, I believe, on. It used to be Reds Roundup last year, and obviously Reds Weekly now. So it's your first time on. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to it.
You've been promoted, John. Then.
Yeah, or I don't know. Yeah, shunted. I don't know. All sorts of different ways of putting it.
Everyone loves to be on this show. Get all your comments in, like and subscribe, and all of that jazz. We're going to discuss the women's team first because it's been a mixed old week. We went to London twice, didn't win either, but it's relatively positive, which is bizarre. You wouldn't usually say that if you've gone to London twice and not picked up a win, but it seems to be relatively positive. So Benny, I'll come to you first then. Obviously, you can cover both in one obviously brief thing if you want. Obviously, we lost to Chelsea 3-1 in the Conti Cup, exited obviously at the semi-final. And a 1-1 draw at Arsenal as well. So I said no wins, but are you as positive as most other fans at the moment?
I think so. There's a feel-good factor about the women's side at the minute, and it's. I think I've said it previously on the show I've done on the women's channel on Man and Matt Saturday Night Live show. I think it's come right after the winter break, whereas we're usually for those that follow the women's side, usually we struggle after the winter break. We struggle to get going. It takes us a little bit of time to get going, but this time I think we've hit it right off. And as you said, we've gone to London for 2 games against arguably the 2 best sides in the league. Yes, we've not picked up a win, but we're playing really good football, though. Really good football, and it's no coincidence that if you give a manager time to implement his ideas, time to get across his ideas, instead of being impatient and trying to write him off straight away, when at the start of the season things weren't going as maybe as planned. You know, we were struggling a little bit. We're struggling in games where usually you think we should be winning. The performances were a bit abject and a bit bitty, if that makes any sense. But now you can see a style of play. You can see how he wants to play. You can see a Manchester United side that believe in the manager's ideas. And it's no coincidence that the manager now is taking a bit more of a back seat, where he's not always on the sidelines barking. He's got his assistant manager there, Martin Ho, who there's a few of us, including my co-host on the Saturday Night Live on the Women's Channel, Matt Crane, who absolutely rave about him. Martin Ho as a coach is one of the best, I think, one of the best in the league. And you can now see that the implementation of ideas that Matt Skinner and Martin Ho want to get across are getting across now. It's took a while. It's took a while for I think the players to believe it. A lot of them, as Matt Skinner would say, were in Casey Stoney mode. Still, especially those players that have been there from the start. From the reformation of the women's side. That because obviously Casey Stoney's idea was very regimented, very structured, and now they started to believe and buy into the ideas that Matt Skinner is putting forward and putting across of how he wants us to play. We got smashed by Chelsea at the start of the season in the league, 6-1. This time, it's fair enough. We got beat 3-1 on the night in the Conti Cup semi-final, but they didn't really massively outplay us. I didn't get to go live for the last 2 games, unfortunately, away at London, because obviously I've been working, so unfortunately I couldn't go to the last 2. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard from people, it's all positive, mate, and it's a feel good factor, and it's about time that we had a team that gave us that feel good factor, because at the minute, as we know, there's problems in the men's senior side. There's problems up and down, every structure of the club, from ballroom level downwards. That feel good factor's gone from United quite a lot, but at least we've got that ray of sunshine at the side there with the women's side that are doing very, very well. They're representing Manchester United like Manchester United should be represented, with passion. They're always willing to learn. They always give their best in games. Nobody's shirking out. Nobody's saying, I can't play, I don't want to play, and all this jazz. Every one of them every one of those players are bought into the club. The ethos of the club, the idea of the club, our history. Even the new signings have come in and have took a couple of them have been chucked to the deep end with injuries against Arsenal. They don't look out of place, which is good, And I just think, I think we're going to be thereabouts end of the season. I really do. Listen, I know I think is it 5 points off Arsenal at the top now, and I know Chelsea a couple points behind us in the league, but with a couple of games in hand. But they're still got to win those couple of games in hand. Chelsea this season aren't the really dominant side that they've been maybe in previous seasons, and they are beatable. It's all about the pressure now. Can they handle the pressure? I still think top three is a very, very realistic goal, and I still think we could split both London clubs. I think we could be on for a second place finish. I don't rule us out for the league title yet either, because Arsenal are also they're not unbeatable themselves. It's been proven before, so it's all about the pressure cooker coming towards the end of the season. And listen, it's good to have a United side that is challenging. Yes, we got to a League Cup semi-final, which is the Conti Cup, is their equivalent of the League Cup, which is good. We're in the next round, the FA Cup, in the hat, which we've got Man City again. Surprise, surprise. But this is a really good feel factor around the women's side at the minute, and obviously it's a big week for them, because obviously it's the Manchester derby this weekend for the women on Sunday in the league. So could be a really good game, that, because obviously City are now playing catch up and starting to pick up a couple of points now here and there after they've had an absolute disastrous start to the season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to say, because I was at the Chelsea away game, and I think we all kind of came away. Obviously, when we lost 6-1 to Chelsea, the atmosphere was bad. But when we lost on last Wednesday night, it was like, okay, I saw effort there. I can see the obviously you're all disappointed you've gone out, in the cup. You never want to lose a cup game, but it was very much like they gave it everything. I couldn't look at any of those players and go, they didn't give everything. And I think that was the most important thing. And to bounce back against Arsenal, I think it says a lot. And a lot of people have said that the fact that Arsenal were happy and hanging on for a draw against us away, well, obviously they were at home, shows how far we've come as a team. The fact that we're able to go to places away at Arsenal and go, no, we're playing you off the park, not the other way around. We've not come here for a point, we've come here to beat you. I think that's the most important thing. So I just want to bring up David's comment here. So obviously you won't be able to join this particular live, but if you want to come on future shows, message the All for United account on Twitter. It is just at All for United. And then somebody will reply and get you added into the contributors group, and obviously put your name forward for future shows and things like that.
Yep.
Stu, I'll come to you then, obviously, for one of the last words on the women's side. Obviously,
Yeah.
as Benny said there, it is relatively positive. I don't share quite his optimism in terms of the league title, but it's certainly better than what it was earlier in the season anyway.
Well, look, as Benny quite rightly said, he is the font of knowledge, as we all know. Time is the adage in football. Actually, time in all walks of life is the main reason why people are successful or unsuccessful, because they don't use their time right. And Skinner has slowly but surely developed a way of playing, stuck by players that have been ridiculed, really, by some fans who we won't go into those players, but they've come good, because what he had open or options wise to him at the beginning of the season didn't allow him to play the players that he wanted to in the relevant positions. You know, we had injuries, we had certain players that just weren't adapting to life in England. But that obviously changes over time, and now he's able to employ certain players in the right positions and the right areas. You're seeing us almost, I wouldn't say completely dominate the opposition, but we're having a better percentage of dominance than what we had at the beginning of the season. Now, my first game was Reading at home, and I was hooked. That afternoon. I'm not able to get to all the games due to family life, but like Benny and work, it's very difficult for me, and I go when I can. But I was watching at home because the wife and the girls were out orienteering, so I had a bit of time on Sunday. So I was watching at home, and I was absolutely amazed how much we wanted to beat Arsenal. When you look at where we've been when Chelsea battered us and City, came to LSV and taught us a lesson. You know, we moved on from those days. The confidence when we receive the ball, it's so much higher. Our vision when we have the ball is so much better. Our intelligence when we're on the ball is so much better. Our off-the-ball running is so much better. Our off-the-ball positional play is so much better. Our defensive, I think, superiority. Look, you've got when you pretty much shut out Miedemar, apart from that one strike in the first half, when you shut out Miedemar, I think it's a fantastic striker. I really do. And Earps pulled off a worldie of a save, absolutely amazing save, because she hit it with some power. It just goes to show. Look, we all know that Blackstone was going to come on and score. Everybody who knows football knew that as soon as she came on, she's going to pop one in. It was a good finish. But I quite like Sina Brun, if that's how I've pronounced it correctly. I thought she led the line really, really well. She, in many fans' eyes, should have had a quiet game. But if you actually watched her, what an intelligent player. Very, very intelligent. Very good on the ball. Knows where to be at the right time in the box. She's a proper striker. And she will get us a bag full of goals between now and the end of the season. So for me, absolutely brilliant. I was quite surprised to see VBR on the bench, but there must have been maybe she picked up a niggle at Chelsea or not. I don't. I'm not so sure. But Russo, I thought, was great. Good header, full of energy. Tooney's going through a mixed bag at this point in time in terms of form, but that happens. But she's the only one that can play herself back into the form she was showing at the beginning of the season. Maybe you bring her out and put Jackie in for a game or two. I don't know. But that's just, something that Skinner can consider. But all in all, I'm with Benny, really. Well, actually, I've got two things to say. First of all, where on earth have Reading come from to be and sitting in a genuine fourth or fifth, whatever it is, 3 points behind us? I mean, that's phenomenal run. I don't think they've lost in 5, have they, or something along those lines, or maybe lost in 6. That includes a draw. If we can beat City at the weekend, and I think Benny's right, I think Arsenal are beatable. I think Chelsea are beatable as well. Who knows? Who knows? But I will stake my claim: if we beat City at the weekend, I think we'll get Champions League football. That's my take on it.
I know John wanted to.
I've just got a very quick question. I don't watch the women's game as much as you guys, for sure. But I was a bit surprised that wasn't a straight red for the. I know it's only a small thing, but that looked like a pretty bad tackle on. I think it was on Battler, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, the McCabe.
The McCabe one. Yeah. I know it was a second yellow, but it was pretty.
She's got form as McCabe. She's got form. She's my type of fullback, John. I absolutely love her. I think she's
football shadows it the best in it, Stu, that one.
Yeah,
she would have just come back from suspension as well.
I know.
She's the Marco Boogers. She's the Marco Boogers of the women's game.
Come back from 5 yellow cards. She's
Marco Boogers.
It wasn't a great tackle, but I just like somebody who doesn't care and just fucking hit someone. I love that. I do. I've been on the end of him where I've been absolutely smashed. And I've done plenty of smashing in my time. And fair play to McCabe. I just liked it. But She's exactly what I would have done as well. I'd have been in the rest face. What are you going on about? Come on, get up and all that kind of bollocks. She's great.
Has anyone seen? So I don't want to bring the men's game into it too much, but has anyone seen that YouTube clip of Graham Souness where he just basically, breaking people's knees, and then he suddenly sort of points at his leg to say, "Hey, look at this! Look at this! I've got a bit of mud on my shorts."
It's mainly Rangers, wasn't it? It
wasn't. It was a player manager at Rangers.
Yeah. No, she's McCabe. I know we shouldn't be talking about opposition players, but wow, she's my type of fullback. That's what I like. I like that in the women's game. Get stuff.
We've got a proper rock now. Obviously, Maria's quite tough as well, but Diane Caldwell, our signing in January, she looks. Wow. She's not afraid of a tackle. Obviously, she was running the risk. She was on a yellow card, and that tackle she put in, I think it might have been on McCabe actually in the second half. Thank God it was offside, because I think if that was onside, she's really walking a tightrope there. But just one thing, Benny, I'll let you have the last word in this, or Stu, if you want to jump on the back of it. But something that Mark Skinner raised, obviously, this is something after the Conti final about. It kind of relates to what John was saying about kind of yellow cards and suspensions and this kind of thing. Skinner raised it quite rightly. Obviously, the game against Chelsea on Wednesday night, we were missing our two best players, Nella Toon and Hayley Ladd, because of the suspension rules in the Conti Cup, that the yellow cards carry over from the group stage into the next round. Now, obviously, Chelsea weren't in the group stage because of the Champions League. So, do you think Skinner? I don't think he was using that as an excuse, but I think he's right, and he's got a point to bring that up, because it seems a ridiculous rule. Chelsea have a full squad. Obviously, I know Sam Kerr had just got back from the Asia Cup, but they had pretty much a full squad because they don't have suspensions to carry over because they've not played games. Whereas United, we'd played 5 games up until that point, 3 against WSL sides and 1 against a physical Durham side. So we're going to pick up cards. Benny, I just want you to have Stu, have the word on that one.
I just got one question. Sorry, Benny. I just got one question. Why is it that Chelsea then did enter the tournament at the semi-final stage?
This is the great question, though, because was it Arsenal or City? I can't remember the top of my head as well. They got a pass as well for being in Champions League.
It doesn't seem right to me. To elevate
it doesn't seem right. I said for the competition as well. It doesn't seem right that you get 2 really fresh sides. Fair enough. You could argue maybe not fresh sides because they're playing Champions League football, but 2 sides that, like Conrad said there, that don't run the risk of players being suspended because of bookings, that can come in at a latter stage. And I'm thinking, for the integrity of the competition, how can that be allowed? How can that be fair for everybody? That have took part from the very, very beginning of the competition. How is that fair? Especially if, for example, Chelsea go on and win this competition now, we're playing less games than everybody else. It just doesn't seem fair to me. It's something that just really bugs me a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm glad that Skinner brought it up. I just want to go around the house one more time before we move on to the men's side and the academy, and obviously the main bulk of this show, because I like to put people on the spot when I come on shows. But it is going to come back to me. Obviously, as mentioned, we play City next Sunday. That to me is a 6-point game, because we're 5 clear of them now, as Stu said earlier. If we beat them, we go 8 clear, and they're pretty much our rivals for top 3. I know obviously Reading have snuck in there somewhere, and Spurs are there or thereabouts, but I'm just going to come to each of you for a prediction, really, because we're not going to do the next Reds Weekly will be the day after the derby. Benny, what do you reckon next Sunday?
We'll go 2-0 United. I'm confident.
Stu?
Well, I'm 21 on Saturday, so I would say 2-1 to United.
And John, just give us a prediction anyway, just because why not?
I'll win 1-0.
A win. A win. Anything a win.
Listen. I don't watch I watched the women's more last season actually, and I do think it's kind of interesting the way this season's panned out, given that Casey Stoney's departure was sort of lamented by most people. I think.
It was.
I wasn't. I must admit, I was very much in the minority where I wasn't convinced. I think she sort of got the job mainly on sort of player reputation. And I don't know why, I'm always a bit suspicious of people that stand on the touchline, have the same concerns, or not concerns, but same reservations about Frank Lampard as a coach. They seem to sort of be more concerned with the way they sort of look the part necessarily than actually with what's going on the pitch. And maybe I'm getting a bit too preoccupied with that. But no, listen, I mean, I'm pleased that Skinner's doing okay, and and onwards and upwards.
I think if you'd have asked me for a prediction a few weeks ago, well, even I don't know. I think if you'd have asked me for a prediction when we last played City, obviously we beat them in the Conti Cup. That was the last time we faced them. I maybe wouldn't have been so confident. But I think with Skinner now, like I said, we've gone away to Arsenal twice. We went away to Chelsea, and we could hold our own now. City are a different outfit from when we played them. You know, they've got Bronze back in, they've got Steph Horton back in. Demi Stokes looks very. They've got they've got all of their players, well, not all of them back yet, but they've got a solid side. So I think
I like Hampton Park, as you well know.
Yeah,
I like both those, but I think Bunny Shaw. I think Caldwell will be absolutely rubbing her hands together for Bunny Shaw, because she has a habit, doesn't she? That Bunny Shaw just popping up, popping one in the net, peeling away with her right arm up in the air, and away she does absolutely fuck all game. What a striker! What a striker! But I think Caldwell can have Bunny Shaw. I really do. I think Bunny Shaw will be in for a tough afternoon there.
I really do hope so. But I think for me, I can't see the keeping a clean sheet against that side, so I think I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win as well. And yeah, if you are interested, obviously it'll be on TV on Sunday. You'll be able to hear us before you see us. We've got our own away end for Sunday, so you'll hear. I'm sure Benny, you're going.
I'm going, mate. Yeah.
We've got our away end, and John and Andrew's in the comments as well. I'm pretty sure are going as well. So look out and listen for us on Sunday, and support the team as well. If you weren't planning on watching it, give it a watch. Sunday, 12:30 kickoff, and give everyone support. So. We'll move on to a bit more of a depressing side at the moment. Move on to the men's senior side. We're not going to cover this too much, because obviously there was a match reaction at the time. But obviously, I just want to get each of your kind of thoughts on I don't know what to call it. Obviously, a loss to Middlesbrough in the cup, because obviously that happened last week. Benny, I'll come to you first, and obviously I'm assuming you're obviously there at Old Trafford. What is your kind of brief thoughts on that?
I don't know, mate. It's all about taking chances again, isn't it? If we can't take a chance, we don't deserve winning the game. How many chances do we have? Honestly, Bruno Fernandes himself. How many chances did he have to put the game to bed? I was thinking, yeah, fair enough. 1-0 would have done it. It was all right at half time. We should have been 3, 4, 5 up, really, in truth. But I thought, get a couple of early goals second half, 3-4-0 up. And I would have loved to have seen Hannibal on. And to be fair, I don't know why he didn't even chuck him on. Even at 1-1, I'd have much preferred Hannibal over Mata. Somebody that gives that element of surprise. Somebody that gives that. He's got the legs, whereas Mata's legs are now absolutely gone. Mata didn't. No disrespect to Mata, he's never had the pace anyway, but his legs are gone. Great footballer that he is. He's still got the great touch. He's still got the great footballing brain. But I think. And I'd love to see us take a risk by putting Hannibal Mejbri on, somebody that would have been an unknown element in a way. I know, fair enough, he's been playing for his national side, which is good to see that he's playing at a senior level for his national team. But I'd have loved to have seen him just given that little bit of a run out, see what he can do, see what sort of danger he can possess, because for Middlesbrough, they'd been an unknown quantity. They'd been someone they'd have gone, we've heard about this lad, keep an eye on him a little bit, see what he can do. And maybe they've created a bit more space for us, especially in midfield, I just think we should have maybe just gamble a little bit more on in entrusting our youth, because this guy is someone that Ralph Rangnick himself has talked upon and spoke very highly of. I just found it very strange that you left him on the bench. But there's no excuse for me. We should have buried that first half. We should have buried them first half. We should be well out of sight. I do agree the football is a bit better. I know we didn't win, and I know things are doom and gloom at the minute, and people are rightly expect us to beat Middlesbrough. We're a decent championship outfit. Chris Wilder's a decent coach. I love the guy from his time at Sheffield United. I think he's a no-nonsense coach. I do think that he'll go very far in the game. Once he sort of his books start going up again, rising up again. But I just think. We should have done so much. We should have done so much more with our chances. The football's getting there. It's looking better. It's looking like there's some sort of a plan. some sort of a way to play, but we need to be taking our chances. You know, how many times have we said this for the women's side, going back to them this season, that we lack that clinical, that ruthlessness in front of goal? It now seems to have flipped to the men's side now. We're lacking that clinical ruthlessness in front of goal. Somebody as great as Cristiano Ronaldo, you've seen him snatching at chances, skying chances, you know. You think that's one of the greatest goal scorers of all in world football of all time, you know. You're thinking, is that the pressure that comes with playing for Manchester United? Is the shirt weighing down heavy, or even the likes of one of the greatest players of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo? You know, having to be that guy that has to lead. You know, everybody looks up to Ronaldo, looks up to him, and quite rightly so, as being, as I said, one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest. You know, is the pressure getting to him a little bit? You know, by having to be the focal point, having to be that guy that's got to sort of take this team by the scruff of the neck and try and do his best to try and push us forward, to try and lead us. But the penalties, listen, I'm not going to blame Malanga. I don't know who the hell gets on that kid's back. That kid, honestly, he's going to be a great, great player in the future. And hopefully it's going to be with Manchester United. I certainly think it will be. Obviously, as you would know, we've talked to Tony loads of times on previous shows that sometimes things are never a given. But this lad looks like a United player for me. Pace, power, his finish is usually top notch. Yes, he's missed a penalty. Anybody can miss a penalty. Look at Ronaldo in the Champions League final, missed a penalty. Ronaldo missed a penalty in normal 90 minutes of time. You know, anybody can miss a penalty. But the abuse that guy got is unforgivable for me. So people are giving him racist abuse for missing a penalty, what to shake their heads, mate, and get a life. Because that kid's one of our future. You know, is our future. And I'm glad that, and I'll finish off on this point, I'm glad that the TRA and the Stretford end was singing Alanga's name at the end, because you could see the lad was distraught, nearly in tears. But come on, we had enough to win that in the first half, never mind the normal 90 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Benny. Look, chance creation. You can't win football matches if you don't score goals anyway. And yeah, we got one, hit the bar. I think what annoyed me the most was, I mean, I wasn't at the game. Jake had our ticket, and as per usual. And I was kind of thinking that for the first minute, you could see how nervous their goalkeeper was. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe we'd never utilised that. Well, why we didn't just ping shots at him from any angle, because he was obviously going to spill one or two, which he did during the game. And then you'd have expected Ronaldo to at least cleaned up on one of those. Look, the penalty miss from Ronaldo, look, it happens. You know, we've had some great penalty takers down the years. You know, Rude missed a few. You know, Dennis Irwin missed one, didn't he? You know, Cantona's missed a couple. You know, we've had good penalty takers down the years. You know, is there a call for Bruno to come back? Bruno's missed a couple. Who knows with pens? It's just one of those things, isn't it? But what actually made me laugh more than anything was the fans were going nuts about VAR and the handball, etc., etc. Everybody completely forgot the 1,000 yards that Watmore had in terms of space, mm-hmm. and Rafael Varane jogging back, you know, until he suddenly realised that Watmore got hold of it, and then he suddenly put it. So.
Well, that's what Ralph said in his press conference today. Though we should have been that phase of play. We should never have been allowed to get that far. Exactly. You know, in terms of for the handball. You know, but that's a bizarre decision in itself, mate.
It is a bit of a bizarre decision, but the point I'm getting to, Benny, is that if he didn't handball it, he still would have brought it down and crossed it anyway.
Exactly, mate. Exactly, yeah.
You know, so it was a very frustrating game. It is a game that on paper we should be winning, but I said this once and I've said it a million times, and Benny, you touched on it. Chris Wilder knows what he's doing, and I'm not sure we did our homework completely well, because you would have known that Crook or Cook, whatever his name is, who scored the goal, is on fire for Middlesbrough at the minute. Paddy McNair is a very, very solid championship player. They're a good outfit, and I can imagine Wilder, when he got them in up at half time. He said, look, 45 minutes has gone. They're going to come at us again. When you get your chance, be ruthless. And that's what they were. They were absolutely ruthless against us. And we just, and for whatever reason, this phase of the season that we're in at the minute, we can't hit a fucking barn door, let alone an open goal. I mean, there's no excuse for Bruno missing his effort. Absolutely no excuse at all. There's no excuse for Rashford. I know it's always a difficult one when the cross comes in and you've got to take it on the volley, a low volley. It's always, the potential to go. But you're talking elite level footballers here. That ball should have hit the back of the net. And so, coming down to Alanga in his penalty, I think you're right, Benny. The abuse he got is shocking. Well, I'll always say this about penalty takers. If you've got the stones to take a penalty, you've got the stones to miss. And that's absolutely critical, that is. You can't be afraid to miss. You can't be afraid to step up, and you can't be afraid to miss. And all right, he's a young lad. It's affected him, but he's got to get in that change room, brush it off and move on. Get a penalty on Tuesday, tomorrow night, and Ronaldo and Bruno on the pitch. Fucking take it. Stick it on the spot and do your best. That's what you've got to do as a penalty taker. And I'm hoping the lads don't mention it. They let them get on with it now, because it's a right, playing for Manchester United, it's a tricky old thing anyway. We'd love to pull on the red shirt, but for somebody to kind of have that balls to pick up the spot. So we missed. So what? We've all been there. You've just got to move on, because the thing is, you can't affect it after the game's over. So it's just one of those. David, my lad will be there. I've had a season ticket for 28 years, but my lad's 21 now, and he's kind of robbed it. I think that's the best, the best way. I don't get to go anymore, unfortunately. So, but my lad will be there. N2404.
John, before you jump in, I have to say, Stu, you find a way to mention that every show now. I'm gonna. It's like a buzzword. You're not allowed to see. Is that? Are you hoping your son watches this show?
Even though
he said to me the other day, because Benny, you must have had I've actually had my season ticket renewal email tonight.
I haven't, yeah.
I can't believe it. But I had an email a couple of weeks ago. I've had 3 or 4 of them now. From the Southampton game onwards, if we can't, if a season ticket holder can't make it, they'll buy the tickets back off you. So I just said to Jake, I said, "Oh, right, I've had this. Just give me a list of." He said, "Well, choose where you want to go, Dad." I said, "Oh, I'll go to Southampton then." But I said, "I'm going to go with Ben." "Oh, all right then. Okay, so I can't go to Southampton then." And it's every game I mentioned, "Yeah, but I'm going up with Adam, or I'm going up." "Yeah, all right then, son." So basically, I can't go. So that's it. But yeah, I've had my renewal coming already. It's early this year.
Yeah, it's very early because we've obviously had the same for the women's side. But obviously, John, I'll let you have the last word on the men's first team. Then obviously, I'm not sure when the last show you were on. I'm hoping it was in better circumstances than what we are now. I think it might have been when Ralph got announced. You were definitely on that show.
I was on that show. Now I think I've been on once or twice since then, because I think 1 or 2 people made a comment that apparently when I come on, it's after a victory. So I've done a couple of shows since then. I think immediately after. I think maybe the West Ham game, maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, some one of those occasions that we've won, which is unfortunately less frequent than I'd like. Anyway, go on. You've got a question, or do you want me to just sort of
just take the floor? United Middlesbrough, obviously we lost on penalty. It's just
I'll keep it brief as well, because it's now sort of 3 or 4 days later as well. But just a few things that I'll just sort of react to a couple of things that were said and then add a little bit too. I think Mata's contract was weird. I said it a year ago. I said thanks. Where we were asked, I think it was towards the end of last season, somebody said to me, or the general question was, what we're looking forward to, what do we think we should do in the summer, where do we need strengthening, and who should go? And I just said, Matt has been great. He's a nice guy. It's been no shortage of effort from him, which is not something we could apply to everyone. And he's not caused any trouble, whereas some players can do when they're not playing week in, week out. But I thought that was the time for him to move on. So I was stunned when we gave him a new contract, but then I've been stunned several times when we've been handing contracts out willy-nilly over the last 10 years or so. Chris Wilder, doing a good job. I think maybe he was a bit harsh to lose his job at Sheffield United, and he sort of steadied the ship a bit at Middlesbrough, and they've got a chance of at least making the playoffs anyway. So and that's of course his second victory of sorts, if you like, in a row at Old Trafford after after one of their only victories last season came at United. Good news about Atletico regarding obviously that match in a couple of weeks is that they're looking not great at the moment either, in what I think is probably the weakest Spanish league in decades, possibly. I hope I'm not proven wrong by that in terms of a Spanish team going on to win the Champions League, but I'll be stunned if a Spanish team wins the Champions League this season, which is, unheard of really compared to how strong that league has been in recent years. They're shipping goals left, right, and centre, which is the one thing that Simeone kind of guarantees as a coach. So we've got a chance at least anyway. So as bad as we are, they're not great either. Penalties, that's 2 penalty shootouts now, and I just did a quick maths. That's 19 consecutive penalties we've conceded in penalty shootouts. Villarreal, I don't think we've had a penalty shootout since Villarreal this season. And it was just insane how, the preparation, it seems to me to be an issue regarding the goalkeepers and that. And I guess it's a bit trickier to prepare for a penalty shootout against Middlesbrough than it would be against other teams. But still, that's weird. And at no point did I ever think Henderson was going to save one. I know De Gea's actually saved a couple in normal time this season, so hats off to him, and he's had a great season anyway. So, but that was weird. Not taking up chances. One final thing, actually, regarding penalties in general, which, of course, if we'd scored our one in normal time, would have put this to bed, I think, anyway, was I still find it bizarre that Bruno's been taken off penalties. He scored 25 out of 27 in his career, albeit that his 2 misses have both come at United. But his record at United has been pretty good. I get it if you miss 3 or 4 in a row, but just to miss one and then just get dragged off was weird, I thought, at the time, and I've still thought it weird since. So does that mean Ronaldo won't get taken off because he missed one? Ronaldo's record, I think, is something like, probably 3 out of 4, something like that, since he joined the club. Well, that's far worse than Bruno's record, if you like. That's my brief take, if you like, on certain issues that occurred over the last few days.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to add any more because I'll just wind myself back up again if I talk about talk about that side anymore. So I'll swiftly move it on. Obviously, the thumbnail of the show is obviously about Demarai Mellor's return, and obviously a key factor, and that was obviously the win at the weekend, 3-1 over West Ham. Me personally, I was actually quite surprised because West Ham in the Premier League 2, as it's called, are doing pretty well. I believe they were second at the time. I think they may have dropped third now after we'd beaten them, but they were flying in the league. And United are not doing so great in the 23s for a number of reasons for that. A lot of the good players are loaned out or they've been promoted to the first team and all these kinds of things. But Benny, you were there on Saturday. Do you just want to talk us through kind of Demarai Mellor's return and the 23s result as a whole?
Yeah, you said the 23s went up against a really strong West Ham side who they are still second in the league. But I don't know whether they had a couple of their key players missing that might have been on the bench because obviously West Ham senior side was in FA Cup action at the same time, so against Kidderminster. So I think they might have had a couple of their more talented youngsters maybe on the bench. I'm not 100% sure. However, United did really, really well. But again, first half, we played very, very well. Which caused them a lot of problems. I think they scored a goal against the run of play, for their equaliser. But it's really, really solid. Demarai Mellor is a different type of forward to someone like a Charlie McNeil. The people know Charlie McNeil's name because his name was the buzz name from his time at Manchester City, where he scored absolute bucket loads of goals. He's come with a reputation of an absolute ruthless goal-scoring striker. Who knows where the back of the net is? And certainly under 18 level, as we're going to touch upon later on, he looks that sort of clinical, out-and-out goal-scoring striker. But at the 23 level, and then the 23 level where things are a bit more physical, players start to fill out and start to form into players going into their adult years. He does seem like a level below still a little bit Charlie McNeil. And that was evident in the Papa Johns for me, where he was snatching at chances. He had a couple of great chances against Sunderland where we went out with the Papa Johns trophy, and to put them away would have gone through as I think would have been group winners. but evidently we lost to Sunderland, which meant we went out of the Papa John's. But Eddie had taken them 2 chances. It'd been another story for another time. But back to Mellor, different type of striker. Likes to run into the channels quite a lot. He's quite tall. Again, probably not the most physical player that you'd ever come across. He's quite slight as well. Still filling out, still building up. But he's always had an eye for goal himself, Mellor. And it's good to see him back in the goal scoring sheet. Because obviously the under-23s at times have lost, as you said, have lost players. They've had players out injured. Mellor himself has been out injured as well at points this season. They've had a Langer leading the line as well. For someone that's more of maybe a wide player, he's played up front quite a lot for the under-23s, especially earlier on in the season when he was building his way back to fitness as well after picking up an injury pre-season. So it's good to see Mellor back in amongst the goals. I did miss his second goal because I take my son to the loo as it was. Impeccable time for the toilet as always from him. But his first goal was well taken, absolutely brilliant. Build-up play with Charlie Savage involved with that again. And again, another player you may want to look out for, Charlie Savage. For those that don't know, he is the son of Robbie Savage. He looked really decent. We had Zidane Iqbal on the bench, but obviously he's only just come back from international duty. But with his national side, again playing at the adult level, playing at the men's senior level, which will do him a world of good. So Zidane Iqbal got about 15-20 minutes, if I remember off the top of my head. Not enough to impact the game, but looked solid when he came on. But there was really good performances in there. Again, Alvaro Fernandez, who me and Connor and I think Stu as well rave about all the time. I'm surprised that guy's not got. I know he's been training with the first team, and I've got a little bit maybe too excited when I saw a picture of him training with the first team. I thought he might have been in the squad for the Middlesbrough game in the FA Cup for the senior side, but it didn't prove to be to be the outcome. But that guy looks the next one to step up. You're looking for a fullback there that can go forward and attack with menace. And he whips a decent ball in, by the way. And that's where I think we struggle sometimes. You look at Galop, sometimes he's always over-hitting him or under-hitting crosses. Fernandez, all right, fair enough. I know it's only 23 level, and I know he's from his time playing Papa John's, playing League 1 and League 2 sides. I know they're not Premier League level sides, but he does know how to whip a really decent cross in. Very good going forward, mucks him with goals himself, but equally he can defend as well. Yes, he's got a lot to learn, I think, on the defensive side of things, because definitely the attacking side it suits him a bit better, but I do think he's one to watch out for, and I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get an opportunity to play before the end of the season, whether it'll be towards maybe it'll be the last game of the season where you see there's quite a few youth stars are chucked on, or whether it will be I don't know, maybe in the Champions League. You never know. If we go to Atletico Madrid and comfortably win away, as people are saying they're struggling as well, you might see Alvaro Fernandez maybe get 10-15 minutes at Old Trafford. Who knows? You never know with youth, with the way you can integrate youth these days. But on the whole, the 23s are looking all right. And as you said, Connor, listen, a lot of the big stars are out on loan, which they should be at that age. Like your Jimmy Garners, your Daniel Leverts, all your big stars, the big sort of names that everybody says that associates the 23s, shall we say. Listen, James Garner had another great game for Forest at the Cup against me. He's looking at that. I think a Premier League move for next season. I think it might be a little bit too soon for him. I agree with what Tony said on a previous show for maybe mustering his way into the United midfield first team. But certainly a Premier League loan move would do this, unless he gets promoted with Forest, of course. Comes with Forest. I'd love him to stay at Forest to get into the Premier League, but it definitely is a Premier League move. Is the next one sort of to maybe look out for in the future. Keep your eyes out for him. But the 23s will be all right. You've got to learn with 23 football, because I see a lot of people. There's a person on Facebook that does message a lot and says, "Oh, but the 23s are lost again. The club's a mess." But let's be fair, though. Your bigger stars are out on loan or within the first team now in the structure. You like your Langers. They're in, quite rightly so. They're in the first team structure. You've got a lot of them on loan, still learning the trade. Which is good, because you learn a lot more from men's football, as Stu would quite rightly agree with me, than you do playing at 23s, which we've been told by Tony before. It's very vanilla style football. It's not all that, So it is good, but a lot of them are playing above their age group. It's the last thing I will end on there. Let's not forget, a lot of these are still actually, a lot of the teams still under 18s playing under 23 football. They've had to step up. They've had to, and some of them don't look out of place, by the way. And I will end on this though, about Charlie McNeil. He will come good. Just trust me. He has to fill out a little bit more. That's all. But he is a ruthless striker. Time will tell whether he'll make it to the United first team. I know a lot of people always tweet about where's McNeil. So. That's the story of Charlie McNeil, really. Let's give him a little bit more time, just to fill out his physical presence. But watch out from the FA Youth Cup on Wednesday, which we'll get onto a little bit later on.
Yeah, it's a good segue into something. John, I wanted to come to you on this one. Obviously, Benny's just mentioned it there about the FA Youth Cup. Obviously, that's played at Old Trafford on Wednesday night. I think the previous rounds have been as well. This the round 5, last 16, whichever way you want to look at it, at Everton. I just want to ask you whether you think it makes a difference for these players, the kind of younger players coming through, that the fact it's at Old Trafford, it's free entry for Old Trafford as well. And something else Benny mentioned there about Zidane, Iqbal, and obviously Hannibal as well, going away with their national teams. They're getting game time now, obviously, on the national stage as well. Do you think both of those things help these youngsters, or do you just think it doesn't make too much difference, obviously, on the Old Trafford side, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think it makes too much difference. I mean, if you were getting, it's great that they're allowing free entry, by the way, and I think that should be something encouraged. The international thing can work one of both ways. If you've got to worry about burnout. We've all heard the stories regarding Michael Owen and the way he was at a young age, and how Ferguson feels as though that did him more harm than good. If, of course, though, that they're not playing week in, week out, at least at the top level, then I guess there's no problem. By the way, I'd like to just throw in Palestri as well. I know he's on loan at Alaves at the moment, but he played for Uruguay. Surprisingly, actually got called up to the squad and actually started and did quite well as well. So throw him into the mix along with the other players that Benny mentioned. The youth thing is maybe one of them. I mean, obviously, you've got this match, as you say, this week. It's one of the sort of highlights at the moment amongst fairly full of lowlights at the club. I think we've got lots of issues going on at the club, and I think we might be a bit lucky in terms of the youth players we've got coming through or looking good at the moment, because I still think that there's huge structural issues at the club from top to bottom, and I include the youth situation with that. And that's why Man City are now where we were 20 years ago, in the local area at least, and possibly even globally, getting all the best young talent. But anyway, I guess we should be a little bit more optimistic, and fingers crossed they can get a good result against Everton on Wednesday.
Fingers crossed, Joe. I'll let you have the last word on this one before we look to round off with something that one of our previous promising youngsters, obviously, came to us as a youngster, Wayne Rooney's quotes today. But Stu, your roundup of the academy at the moment. Obviously, John raised a good point there that obviously City have caught us up really in the kind of academy setup now, and we're still producing good youngsters, but I think there is a lot of hype around our players just because they're ours, just because they're in our academy. And I think obviously me and Benny have done shows with Tony in the past that everyone in our academy can play, but have they got that to go to the next level? So yeah, I'll just let you have the last thoughts on that, and obviously the Old Trafford game on Wednesday night.
Yeah, look, the whole youth setup at the minute just it's not right. It doesn't sit well. But Benny's absolutely right. You've got 17s and 18-year-olds playing under 23 football because some of the players with promise, the older players with promise, are out quite rightly on loans. Look, it does give you an idea of what senior football's about, but you tend to play with players your own kind of build, because you're not playing with any ruthlessness at that age. You're not playing with any real grit, any real determination. You're just playing for contracts, and that's a massive problem. So although you've got competitions that you're in, you're ultimately, all you're doing at that age is making sure you get your contract extension, because that then gives you an opportunity as a stepping stone to the first team. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's open for debate. For me, I'm old school. John will be the same. Benny will be the same. The old reserve league was the best way to bed a player. If you've got any kind of aspirations of making it at the Premier League level, 10 or 15 years ago, you would have to go through the old reserve league. And chances are you'll be coming up against a seasoned pro who's coming back from injury, or a seasoned pro who's desperate to get back into the first team. And so we'll go and play with the reserves on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, and he will give you an absolute kicking. He will show you what football's about. And the transition between an 18-year-old with promise to an 18-year-old can actually hack it is huge. The gulf is absolutely huge. And this is, again, the problem with some of our senior players, because there is no reserve league at the minute. I know when Phil Jones popped in for the 23s a couple of times on Match Fitness, but nobody else was doing. Donny van der Beek didn't go and play with the 23s. He wasn't getting any minutes. It doesn't happen anymore. You get to a certain level in football and that's it. I've made it. So that's where I am. And then everything else just comes crashing down, in your life. We're seeing that at the minute with our number 11, aren't we? We're seeing issues on that kind of status. And so I think what you've got to be careful of, and I think it needs a complete rip up and start again. I really do. I think it needs to have a Premier League 2. I know this is Premier League, whatever you've got, but it needs to be not an under 23s. It needs to be an open age group, second tier, almost a reserve league again, where, if you're not in the first team, you can get game time at that league and play yourself into the first team, or you can give players a better stepping stone to making it. And Benny's right about Charlie McNeil. He was ripping it up at 16, 14, 15, 16. But now, what is he, 18 now, isn't he, Benny, Charlie McNeil?
Yeah, he's 18, I believe, yeah.
He's got to fill out, a little bit like Iqbal. Zidane, he's got to fill out. These players, Shoretiri, for me, he's got to fill out. These players, they've got to start and understand what it means to be. It's not just about how good you are with your feet, how good you are with your brain, it's how strong you are as well. And they've got to start looking at this. And I think an open age group, Premier League B, whatever you want to call it, would be a better option for a lot of players. And I think it actually help our national team as well, our England team. So that's my thoughts on it.
It's something they do over in Spain. They have the B teams, don't they? Villarreal, Bailey, and Real Sociedad. And they play in the football pyramid, so it would be our equivalent of playing in League One or League Two or something like that. So
yeah, I
think it's something that, Benny, we've spoken about with Tony about, whether that is an option. Who knows? Obviously, in the English league. But, we'll just leave it off with a bit of fun, a bit of something that's come out today. John, I'll let you kind of lead in because it was your idea, actually, to go through this today. With a quote from Wayne Rooney. I don't quite know what in aid of. I'm assuming it's promoting his obviously documentary that's coming out on Prime. But John, do you want to go through what obviously he said and your just initial thoughts off the back of it?
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of it's kind of a bit of old ground, perhaps, in terms of what he said around the time of his desire to leave, which was, I think, autumn of 2010. And of course, at the time, he highlighted what he believed were issues with the club. He's kind of tried to, in my opinion, and I like Rooney, and I think he's doing a great job at Derby, and of course, largely, with the odd exception, did a great job at United as well. Probably didn't quite hit the heights of, say, Ronaldo, but then few did, so that's fine. But I'm a little bit more skeptical, if you like, regarding his comments, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to slightly tweak with history regarding the fact that he said that United had issues 10 or 11 years ago, and he's going, look, there you go, I told you we had issues 10 or 11 years ago, and now these things have come to fruition. Well, he's tweaking things slightly because actually his issues 10 or 11 years ago were regarding the manager and also regarding a lack of recruitment, which at the time it was right. But actually, there's only one thing that's been not right, but you can't say that we haven't spent any money over the last 8 years, 9 years. We've spent £1.5 billion. The fact that it's been entirely wasted, and I think with the exception of probably Bruno Fernandes. So in fact, his issue, he wanted to sign Mesut Ozil. That's who Wayne Rooney complained at the time about. He said we should get Mesut Ozil. I should be the number 9. I want Mesut Ozil behind me. Ferguson, we need to do this and we need to do that. And Ferguson's like, hang on, mate. I think I know what I'm doing. This is where I see the club going. And of course, this was 2 or 3 years before, or a couple of years before Ferguson was going to retire. There was no inkling about the future. So I think Rooney's trying to repaint history, if you like, regarding his issues. Because his issues at the time were very, very different from what he's highlighting today. So I just want to address that, if you like, and really just sort of make people realize that when hopefully if they read the article and watch the documentary and watch some of the comments that he's making today, just realize that he's kind of playing a little bit with his comments and trying to rewrite history, really.
Oh, I think you're right, John. I read the article, I mean, it's nothing new, really, because he did come out and say most of that, didn't he, 10 years ago? In 2010, 12 years ago. Only citing the removal of Ronaldo, wasn't he, going to Madrid and then losing Tevez. But then again, he said about the quality. He talked about Van Persie being a quality addition. So I think you're right, John. I think he's just trying to almost self-promote his upcoming docket. I think that's really what it's about. And I haven't got an issue with that. Look, what Rooney did for us was absolutely brilliant. He's our all-time leading goal scorer. I personally think Ruud van Nistelrooy would have got there quicker if Ruud had stayed. But that's another story. That's just me, because I love Ruud. He's my type of striker. But what Rooney's done for us, his leadership qualities, it's just one of those. I'm with you on it. I think he is trying to rewrite history, and I think he's trying to promote his.
And by the way, Mesut Ozil would have been the exact type of signing that we've been making over the last 8 or 9 years, and would have been a disaster as well, just like he was for Arsenal. I just want to add, just finally on this sort of Rooney thing is, as I was talking there and talking about Ronaldo, it's funny because for the first couple of years, Ronaldo, we know, didn't hit the ground running, if you like, when he was a young boy coming from Madeira, didn't speak much English. It was actually Rooney who obviously scored a hat-trick on his debut and did hit the ground running. But Rooney reached a point, let's say about 2007. And I think I can even just sum it up in one goal where we scored on the counter-attack against Bolton, I think it was, in a 4-1, 4-0 win in the year that we went on to win the league for the first time in 4 years. And it's Rooney at the end of the move. And it's Rooney who starts the move. And it's Rooney at the end of it. And it's Rooney who dinks it over the keeper. Ronaldo plays a key part in that goal. But that's kind of where Rooney and Ronaldo were in their careers at the time. It then gets flipped a couple of years later when it's Rooney who's also playing an essential role, but it's Ronaldo who starts and finishes the move against Arsenal in 2009 in that semi-final. I just think that those two goals, if you like, kind of sum up kind of where each player were in their trajectory at United. And ultimately, it's Ronaldo. But the fact that we lost Ronaldo and Tevez is no, great, Nostradamus thing to go, wow, yeah, I told you losing Ronaldo and Tevez was going to be a bad thing, And yeah, good luck to the guy. He had a great career, but there's still just a tinge of disappointment. I think Rooney has it too. He mentions how he was drinking a lot as well. And ultimately, I think the way Ronaldo looked after himself and the way Rooney didn't could well give us a clue as to why they took slightly different trajectories from their careers.
I mean, don't forget, we all knew we were losing Ronaldo in 2008. Everybody knew he was going, didn't he, in the summer of 2009. So I tend to agree with you. Be interesting. Looking forward to it. It's February the 11th, isn't it? It comes out on Prime. So,
yeah, it's this Friday, isn't it? This Friday, I think, isn't it?
This Friday, yeah. It is. It is, Benny. It is.
But on that Rooney though, I think I remember back to the time. So remember he got dropped for the Champions League game with Real Madrid because
Ferguson's last season. Yeah, I was at that match. Yeah, we should have probably won that match actually.
Yeah, I know there's been issues with Rooney and Ferguson before, but And I don't remember at the time he was questioning where's the club going, who you signing, what signings you're bringing in. But I do think it's been overfabricated, just like when players bring books out as well. And sometimes they may be overfabricate a few things, or they might do these. If you're one of the older pros, you might go and do these sort of football road shows where you go and speak to a live audience, and sometimes their stories are a little bit fabricated, or maybe the truth's just a little bit, spread a little bit, where it's a little bit more on there. They play on the idea.
Definitely.
Lee Sharp's one of the great people at doing that, I think, sometimes,
Yeah.
But
sorry, Benny, but Rooney also in 2010 was highlighting the immediate future. He wasn't talking 12 years down the line. He was talking about the immediate future. We need to buy Mesut Ozil, who was sort of mid-20s at the time. We need to be buying this plan, that plan. So, in fact, our immediate future was in good hands. So
exactly, nobody knows what's going to happen 12 years down the line. Nobody knows what's going to happen 2 years down the line. But I think, listen, Rooney's a club legend, and to be fair, what he's doing at Derby is absolutely fantastic. He could have walked away from Derby in the last season. He could walk away from Derby now and gone to Everton, but he didn't. So I have a lot of respect for Wayne Rooney. I think, his career maybe fizzled out a little bit before Ronaldo's. Of course, Ronaldo's still playing. Rooney's not. Some of the comments on some of these Rooney videos, it Rooney looks about 50 or 60 now. Let's be fair. When Rooney was breaking through at 16, he looked like a guy of 30 years old. I still think he's one of the all-time greatest players I've ever seen. Wayne Rooney. Yes, I was one of those that sort of said he's ruined his legacy by asking to move a couple of times. Asking for transfers, or whether they were true or not. I don't know. Yes, I think they were. He's highlighted in his book. Asking once, you can probably forgive that, but asking twice to leave a club and flirt with Man City, I know it's sort of tarnished him a little bit with some United fans, but listen, what a great footballer, what a great job he's doing at Derby. Maybe we'll see him in the Premier League one day. Who knows? Could be a possible Man United manager in the future. Who knows? But he needs to go and earn his crust. I think we need to get our next appointment spot on as a manager. To the next manager. We can't afford to be keeping faffing about now. It's not Rooney's time yet. Who knows? Maybe in 10, 15 years' time, when he's earned his crust, he's won a few trophies, he's established himself in the Premier League, or wherever he wants to go and manage, then maybe then, but not now. I certainly wouldn't have him up for the job in the summer, despite what he's doing at Derby, despite the great job he's doing at Derby, and with all the circus that's going on at Derby. But I just think it's one of them overfabricated things. Like I said, like when someone brings a TV documentary out, or back in the day when someone would put an autobiography, a book out, things that sometimes get a little bit overplayed or oversaid, just to make it, watchable, or just to grab the headlines, get people biased, get people watching. But it's just one of those, isn't it? Every player's done it. Every ex-player's done it. I'm not surprised.
They'll be doing it for years, man. Years.
Yeah.
Actually, Rooney's just developed a young lad from Telford.
Is he?
Yeah, Dylan Williams. He's got a move to Chelsea. Just recently signed Chelsea. Rooney developed him. I've shared a picture with young Dylan Williams. I coached him. A little bit of a claim to fame. Not huge, but tiny bit.
It would be a show without a claim to fame from Stu, eh?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You're not wrong.
Just for the last 10, 15 minutes, so we'll just round off with a little bit of light-hearted discussion on
nostalgia.
Something that John made me aware to, and I've just seen it. I think it's Sports Bible, were the original ones that put this up, that it's official. I don't know where they've got that from or where this has come from in any way, but the Manchester United 2007-08 team has been voted the greatest Premier League side of all time. Now, I'll briefly go first on this, and I'll open it up for a discussion for 10 minutes or so as to whether that is true. For me, as a United fan, obviously we're going to be all biased here and say that yes, you could pick any United side, but I think You know, you look at the Invincible side, you look at the early Jose Mourinho side, and even as much as it pains me to say it, you've got to throw some of Pep City side recently. I know the Klopp Liverpool side obviously recently into that. I know they maybe didn't go on and win, you know, doubles and trebles, but the points tally, I know you don't get, you know, things for points and things like that, but you look at what Man City and Liverpool have done in recent years. Could you make an argument for those as well? I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate before I throw it over to you guys. But for me personally, I think that team is kind of my era almost, growing up watching football, because I was about, I don't even know, I don't want to make anyone feel older, but I think I was about 12, 13, it must have been about 12. That's, you know, 07, 08 team. So it was kind of the point where, you know, you really start following football between the ages of kind of like 8 upwards. So for me, I'd have to agree with it. Obviously, I'll open it out now to you guys, but
I'll just be brief. I'll just be brief on this. When did the Premier League finish?
So you are a good point there, Stu. It's not finished yet. Yeah?
How can we beat the Premier League team of all time, the best Premier League team of all time? It's not finished. Come on, look. It winds me up. Stuff like that does. Completely winds me up, because people are saying, who's the greatest footballer of all time? Is it Messi? Well, who knows? Who knows? How good would he have been in the 1950s when the pitches were shite and the balls were, you know, as heavy as rocks and things of that nature? You just don't know. And I'm sorry about this, by the way, guys, but I just don't pay that much attention to it, because, you know, the bottom line is, in 10 years' time, we could have the greatest team of that era. You know, it's all about generations. And because I would look at, and Benny would look at it, a United team of 68, absolutely fucking tremendous team. You know, so yes, it wasn't in Premier League era. Our 92 team that won the Premier League for the first time in 26 years. Our 99 team, you know, I'd say for me, sorry, it's just a bit of a non-starter. So I will shut up now, and that's me done.
Well, there goes the light conversation.
But I do think, regarding what Stu just said, I think the fact that if Pele or Maradona were born into a particular era, they would have just been amazing in their particular era. So, equally, if Messi was around in the 60s, he would have been amazing then, and so on and so forth. So, and I think these things do make good pub conversations. I don't think we should take them too seriously. But it is, you must have had chats and the older, you know, especially younger people, they remember sort of 07, 08, and other people remember sort of 93, 94, and obviously the treble winning team, and some people go back even further than that. I think it's interesting. I find it a bit bizarre that I think you've got to win the Champions League, if you like. I know we're talking about the best Premier League team, but if you're going out the Champions League group stage, or even if you're going out in the quarterfinals, like certain teams do from North London, then I think you can just sort of forget that one. Or if teams win, draw 17 games in a season, etc., I think we can dismiss that. And also to be fair, actually, I've actually heard quite a few Arsenal fans who do sort of go, do you know what? Treble or unbeaten, we're going to go for treble year in, year out. And it's true. Nice. It's an addition. It's a bonus. You know, if you're unbeaten in March and you've pretty much got the leagues sorted, then yeah, of course you want to stay unbeaten. But ultimately, you want to win European Cups and Premier Leagues. Otherwise, we could just draw every game for the whole season and finish on 38 points. So yeah, I mean, my biggest question is that 07, 08 team even the best Man United team of the Premier League era? Of course, we look at 98, 99. I probably would, someone who's sort of lived through both teams, if you like, and Stu will have too, and maybe Benny as well. I would probably say the 07, 08 team is better. I think it was just a weird result against Portsmouth that basically in the FA Cup that season. And I also look at, you know, man for man, I think that the squad was bigger and better in 07, 08. I think Ferguson as a coach was more rounded by then, and he had Carlos Queiroz as his assistant. And I just think, and we also had the best player in the world, with the exception of probably best in the 60s. I don't think any of our teams had the best player in the world at that time. So we had a few things go our way, if you like, in 98, 99. And don't get me wrong, it was an amazing roller coaster. And I think, again, if you want to start, we finished on about 78, 79 points that year when we won it in 98, 99. It wasn't a great total, but, you know, we won it and it was amazing. But I actually do think the best Man United team of the Premier League era until now has been that 07, 08 team. And and it was just a marvelous team. And you know, the funny thing is, I think we all probably have an 11 from that season, if you like, and my 11 would have Owen Hargreaves in it, if you like, and a few others, Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo, and all that. But actually, the 11 that played in that Champions League final, which was the 11 that I'm sure Ferguson had in his mind when he made the recruitment of Hargreaves and Tevez the previous summer. He got Nani and Anderson as basically backup players because I think our squad was a bit small the year before. That's why one of the reasons why we didn't quite win the Champions League. But the 11 that we had, i.e. Van der Sar, Vidic, Ferdinand, Evra, Gary, Wes Brown, because Gary Neville was basically gone that season in terms of injuries. And Wes Brown was marvellous. He even assisted the goal in the final, by the way, with a left wing cross. Unbelievable. He turned into Giggs, Kanchelskis and Sharp all rolled into one for 15 seconds. And he was marvellous that season. And he kept out O'Shea, who had a decent, period at the time as well. And even Gary Neville did come back from injury towards the end of the season. So he was great. And Hargreaves in the holding role alongside Carrick, although he switched to 4-4-2 in the final. That team, anyway, we know it. It was just top. And by the way, talking of Owen Hargreaves, he's made a few interesting comments about the night before the Champions League final of them basically having dust-ups the night before. And they were strong physically, mentally, just insane.
The
93-94 double winning side, though, by the way, that was a team as well. Some people might even say the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup team as well. That was good.
Yeah, that was a good
decent side. 99 was the greatest year of my life. Always will be. I always say that. I was 12 at the time, so 99 was the greatest year of my life. That 08 double winning side though of the Premier League European Cup was some side. I know I think someone put one of the comments the season afterwards when Berbatov came in the 09 winners Premier League winners. But that I think the gloss sort of went off that when obviously Ronaldo left that season that season. Tevez also went, I think, if I remember correctly, at the end of that season as well because he wasn't played as much with Berbatov coming in. But I agree with what John was saying there about Wes Brown having an absolute monster season in 2008.
It was his only monster season, though, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
Wes Brown was a monster, both at fullback and centre half. I think actually he played centre half home and away against Barcelona.
He did.
His concentration, which sometimes could elude him, was insane at home and away. And I've heard him talk about that. Of course, this is Messi right at the beginning, really, of his Barcelona sort of career, at least playing in the first team.
But but is it in terms of I agree with what Stu was saying though. Who could you really say has been the greatest Premier League side ever when the Premier League is still continuing? You could probably argue you could say maybe the greatest first division because obviously the first division is now the Championship and it's changed a lot now. You can maybe make arguments of that. Is it even the greatest Man United team of all time? How good would the Busby Babes have been if it wasn't for, unfortunately, if it wasn't for Munich? Would we have been the Real Madrid of European football? Listen, Real Madrid dominated European football at that time and are quite right the true kings of European football. But how good would the Busby Babes have been in European football? The way that had this tragedy not happened. Obviously the 68 winning European Cup side. And we forget that we had 3 Ballon d'Or winners in Dennis Law, in Sir Bobby Charlton and Georgie Best in them sort of times as well. When we ever had 3 Ballon d'Or winners in the same side, at the same time, so you could argue one of them sides. Could you argue any of those sides had the greatest player? Some people might say Brian Robson's the greatest player they've ever seen. Yes, United weren't the force they were in English football when Robbo sort of was in his pomp and in his prime, but some people might say, Robson was the best player I've ever seen. It's always subject to great debate. You can always throw different variables at it, but I'm like Stu, I don't really pay much attention to it. The only time that I did really pay attention when the Scousers won their one and only Premier League title, and everybody was like, "This is the greatest Premier League side ever." And I'm like, sure. I said, next season they won't do it, and lo and behold, the following season they couldn't retain the title. So
I mean, that 07-08 team, if you like, if you want to go from that pit, they won 3 leagues in a row, which is as good as you're going to get in recent years.
99 also, that 99 side won 3 leagues.
They did, but they only got to 1 European Cup final. This one did 2. I mean, you could go on, and that's how.
Yeah, it's all variables, isn't it?
I'm sure, but I think they're still fun. I mean, I'll say Van der Sar, for example, was a better goalkeeper than Schmeichel, and I'm very happy to have that debate with any of you down the pub sometime. So you've got an opinion, Stu, which is great. So you do enjoy these debates.
No, well, when it comes to Schmeichel, absolutely, he's fucking amazing. I just love Schmeichel. I mean, I'm the world's worst goalkeeper ever. I'm terrible, but Schmeichel, amazing, and Gary Bailey, by the way. My first Gary Bailey.
And less said about Kevin Pilkington, about.
I forgot about him. Steve Pears, he's another one you can forget about, isn't he? But no. Yeah.
We'll wrap it up there before we descend into full on conversations. We'll be talking everything. It was fun to have a bit of.
It was.
Why not? It's Reds Weekly. We talk about all things United, and that came out today. So why not discuss it? Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow. I keep forgetting when the men play nowadays.
Tomorrow night.
So obviously the match reaction, we're back for that. Devil's Advocate will be back on Wednesday, and obviously Timeline Talk on Friday as well. We've got some big guests obviously.
I'd imagine tactical preview. I'd imagine it's Thursday.
Yes, for Leeds, I believe is our next.
Leeds, Leeds.
Well, so.
Yeah, Benny wants on that one, don't you, Benny?
Oh, mate, I've got Leeds as well.
I know you are. Top man.
So make sure you check out all that. Make sure you check out All United WFC as well if you want more coverage, obviously, of the women's side. There'll be more stuff over there. Make sure you like and subscribe. I believe we're about 50 subscribers away from 5K. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video, and we'll see you guys soon.